Hi, welcome back to this Monday edition of Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Welcome aboard the USS Focal Point, our patrol boat. This is a working boat, a patrol boat, not a pleasure cruise, in which we patrol the choppy waters of America's public life, looking relentlessly, without pause, for the coordinates where truth intersects with politics. Our commander is on the bridge. The scriptures are nautical charts. The Holy Spirit, our navigator, and I serve as your loyal, humble, and cheerful first mate. And by the way, just a couple of things. I think I'm going to get to that that phone call to that radio station, Rob. So we might get clip one ready to go. We'll kind of start off on a lighter note today. But again, an indication that American people are turning to alternative media like Focal Point and AFR Talk. Here's a story today. CBS Local in Houston, the CBS affiliate, reporting that the number of Americans who read print newspapers is down now to 23%. So less than 1/4 of the American people are getting their news from a newspaper. That means they are turning to alternative sources for that. And Bill Maher, the comedian, coming out with an honest statement that he is consistently pro-death. He says, my motto is let's kill the right people. I'm pro-choice. I'm for assisted suicide. I'm for regular suicide. I'm for whatever gets the freeway moving. That's what I'm for. It's too crowded, he says. The planet is too crowded, and we need to promote death. Now listen to how honest he is, and he calls the left out on this. He says, look, I'm just not one of those people who thinks all life is precious, you know. I bet you a lot of people wouldn't say that, but if you're pro-choice, maybe that's really what you're thinking anyway. So he says, look, I do not think all life is precious, and I'm honest enough to admit it. Now, anybody that's pro-choice, he says, is saying the same thing. They're not just honest enough to admit it. They do not think all life is precious. That's why they're in favor of destroying life while it's in the womb. So Bill Maher, in a moment of kind of surprising candor, kind of lets you see where they are really coming from. Now, I told you about this woman who was complaining about the fact she'd hit deer in her car 3 times. This is a lengthy clip. It's almost 2 minutes long, which is about twice the length we normally try to run sound bites here. But you just have to hear this whole conversation. This woman is dead serious. So she's calling Y94 Playhouse in Fargo, North Carolina. I guess they've got sort of a North Dakota, I'm sorry. They got sort of an open, open line deal, I guess, where you can call in, talk about whatever you want. So she calls in to complain about the fact that she's hit 3 deer in her car and she wants something done about it, and she has the solution. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not a prank call. This woman is absolutely dead serious. Let's listen.
Over the past few years, I've been involved in 3 separate car accidents involving deer. Mm-hmm. With the population and everything. Each of these incidents, they've occurred shortly after I saw a deer crossing sign on the highway. Well, my frustration is that Minnesota and North Dakota Departments of Transportation would allow these deer crossings to be in such high traffic areas. I mean, I've even seen them on the interstate. Why are we encouraging deer to cross at the interstate? I don't get it. That's such a high traffic area. I mean, I understand that deer are wild animals and they need to travel across the streets occasionally to survive, and of course to find food, but it seems to me that so irresponsible of us to allow these deer crossings to be in areas where these deer are so likely to be struck by oncoming traffic. I mean, wouldn't you agree? I mean, it's
stunned silence.
I mean, you think they would put deer crossings maybe, in, smaller towns, maybe during at a school crossing. It would be a safer place for them to cross. Put the deer crossing sign.
Deer crossings aren't telling deer that it's safe to cross there. It's just more of like an alert for drivers so they know it's like a high deer population.
The government put the deer crossings there. They can direct the deer population anywhere they want to by moving that deer crossing sign. I mean, why in the world would they place it on the highway or the interstate? I mean, there are so many other places I can think of than putting the deer crossing signs on busy highways and interstates.
So that is a woman suggesting that what we ought to do to reduce the number of collisions between cars and deer is just move the deer crossings to the places where the children cross to go to school. And you have the school crossing guards in. They can kind of manage all of that. Now, if we can just teach the deer to read, problem will be solved. Now, let's go to clip number 2. We've got a number of instances out there where the Obama-Biden team is telling flat-out lies on the sanctity of life issue. We had President Obama, I think it was yesterday or maybe even this morning, he was out there somewhat. No, it was an interview with Glamour Magazine. He told Glamour Magazine that one of the reasons we have to keep funding Planned Parenthood is they provide mammograms. Planned Parenthood does not provide mammograms. That is an absolute untruth. Now, whether it's a lie or not depends on how much President Obama knows, but he's been a longtime supporter of Planned Parenthood. So if he doesn't know, then he's just incompetent. If he does not know that Planned Parenthood does not do mammograms, then he's just incompetent, because there's no way it'd be possible to be as invested in Planned Parenthood as he is and be completely ignorant of the fact that they do not do mammograms. So you don't let them lie to you. Anytime you hear somebody saying Planned Parenthood does mammograms, that is a bald-faced lie. Now, they will refer women for mammograms to places that do mammograms, but they don't do them. That's one of the reasons, in fact, why Komen, the Race for the Cure, the breast cancer folks, that's one of the reasons why they made a temporary change to no longer fund Planned Parenthood, because they're about breast cancer. Mammograms key for early detection and all that. Planned Parenthood doesn't do mammograms. So Komen said, look, we're not going to send money to Planned Parenthood. They don't even do mammograms. So they were going to send their money to places that actually did mammograms. Well, you had the big dust up, and they wound up restoring funding to Planned Parenthood and all that. But do not let them lie to you. Planned Parenthood does not do mammograms. Now, here is Joe Biden. He's campaigning in Wisconsin, and he lied to voters. This would have been on Friday, I believe. Here's Joe Biden out there lying on the campaign trail about Planned Parenthood and abortions. Let's listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Ryan was a leader in the House and even blocked those exceptions. So, folks, and now these guys pledge that they're going to defund Planned Parenthood, which under law cannot perform any abortion. You heard it last night again.
So that's Joe Biden, and he says it right in there that Planned Parenthood under law cannot perform any abortions. This is an absolute bald-faced lie. The latest numbers we have, 2010, Planned Parenthood did 329,445 abortions. Now, they provided prenatal care to 31,000 women, referred 841 to adoption agencies. So I don't know what that is. That is about 10 times. Yeah, they did more than 10 times the number of abortions as they did providing prenatal care. So they're saying, hey, we're just all about providing care for women. This is just a health clinic for women. This is where they can come and get all kind of this wonderful help. They provided prenatal care. All of the Planned Parenthood clinics in the country provided prenatal care in 2010 to 31,000 women. Meanwhile, they killed 329,445 babies in the womb. So, and, you know, they only referred 840 women to adoption agencies. So every one of those abortions they did, 329,445 of them, every one of those, adoption was a live option there. But apparently Planned Parenthood won't bother to refer for adoption unless the birth mother absolutely insists on it being done. So Planned Parenthood does 391 abortions for every adoption referral they make, and they do 11 abortions for every woman it helps with prenatal care. Let me repeat that. Planned Parenthood does 391 abortions for every adoption referral. 390 abortions to one adoption. That is their track record. And they do 11 abortions for every single woman they help with prenatal care. Now, let's grab clip 3 while we're in the neighborhood. This is Martha Raddatz. She was the moderator for the debate between Joe Biden and Paul Ryan last Thursday night. And remember, Joe Biden, he was grimacing. He was laughing maniacally. I said he'd sent out there to be aggressive. And I said, he's out there trying to convince the nation that he's Conan the Destroyer instead of Mr. Potato Head. And this thing completely backfired on him. And even Martha Raddatz here, she was the moderator. She's the one that allowed Biden to interrupt Paul Ryan 85 times. The original count was 82. I saw a tape this morning that monitored it, clicked it off one by one. 85 times she allowed Joe Biden to interrupt Paul Ryan. So she was dismal, hopeless, helpless failure as a moderator. But even she, as much in the tank as she was for Biden and Obama, she's talking to Jake Tapper. And here's what she had to say about Biden's performance last Thursday. Let's listen.
Martha, my first reaction after the debate was, wow, this is a big night for Jason Sudeikis, the guy who plays Joe Biden on Saturday Night Live. When you're up there on the stage, can you tell what's going to take hold in the public's mind?
Well, let me tell you one thing. For instance, I didn't see Paul Ryan drinking all that water, ever. Because when I was asking, because you're so in the moment and you're asking Joe Biden a question. But I think right away you knew what the strategy was. But one of the things I think Joe Biden did was in that intimate in that little intimate table, it was very small, he was too big. He was like he was at a campaign event. So you could feel that, especially at that table, that Joe Biden was so aggressive. So there were surprises there. I was surprised at Paul Ryan that he didn't jump in more, but that was clearly the strategy. But when you walk off, you're not quite sure how it went.
So Martha Raddatz says, look, I was surprised that Paul Ryan didn't jump in more. Martha, it's not his job to jump in. It's your job as the moderator to make sure that he's got an opportunity to complete a thought without getting interrupted 85 times. So she's blaming that on Paul Ryan. Here, Paul Ryan is being respectful to the process, and she blames him for not being aggressive. But it's interesting. She says about Biden, he was too big. That's just her polite way of saying he was way over the top. He was out of control, and he was so aggressive. That just means he was rude and disrespectful. So even Martha Raddatz, if you decode what she's saying, she agreed that Joe Biden's performance in the debate pretty abysmal. Now, tomorrow night, you're going to have a town hall meeting, and there's a controversy over Candy Crowley. She's going to be the moderator from CNN. She referred to the Romney-Ryan campaign as a death wish, a death ticket at one point. So she's not exactly unbiased, and both sides have reason to complain about her. Talk about them more when we come back. Focal Point AFR Talk.